In the vast tapestry of history, some stories are, well, they're whispered. But then you have others that are just etched in stone and fire. This is a story of the second kind, a story of an empire at its peak, a decree of total annihilation, and the unlikely courage of one woman who stood between her people and the abyss. So, we begin in the heart of the Persian Empire, the royal city of Susa, in the year 480 BC. Before these massive, ornate palace doors, a young Jewish woman stands alone in the torchlit night. She's small, almost insignificant against the sheer scale of the golden gates, and it conveys the immense weight of the moment. In this solitude, destiny just hangs in the balance. Her name was Esther, and what she did next, well, it changed the fate of an entire people. Inside these walls ruled King Ahasuerus, who you might know from history as Xerxes the Great. He was the most powerful man in the world. His dominion stretched over 127 provinces. Here, in his vast throne room, you just see the power of empire on full display, towering columns, crimson and gold silks, and the king himself, arrogant and entitled on his elevated throne. But beside him, another throne sits empty. See, he ruled a kingdom without a queen, until the night queen Vashti defied him. "Bring Vashti to me," the king commanded, but the reply came back, "Queen Vashti has refused, O king." So a new queen had to be found, and so began the search that would reshape history. Now, among the young women brought to the palace was a Jewish orphan named Hadassah. She had been raised by her cousin, Mordecai, a good and dignified man who loved her as his own daughter. And here we see the two worlds she would inhabit, the warm, humble light of her Jewish home, contrasting with the cold, clinical marble of the palace preparation chambers. Before she left, Mordecai gave her this quiet, urgent instruction. Do not reveal your people or your family, not yet, not here. By the time she was chosen for her beauty and grace, she had a new Persian name, Esther. Esther was queen, and no one at court knew she was Jewish. But peace in the palace was, well, it was fragile. Power attracts men of great ambition, and none were more ambitious than Haman, the king's highest official. Here, at the palace gate, we see the moment that ignites this fire of hatred. As Haman passes, all the royal officials bow. All but one. Mordecai, a man of conscience, stands upright, resolute. This single act of defiance fills Haman with a cold, absolute rage. Not just at Mordecai, you see, but at all Jewish people. We see him whispering poison into the king's ear. There is a certain people scattered throughout your kingdom. And the king, distracted, just gives his assent, as you see fit. The decree is written, sealed, and sent by riders across the empire. On a single day, all Jewish men, women, and children were to be killed. The city of Susa was just thrown into confusion. Somber, when Esther heard of the horrifying decree from Mordecai, who sat in mourning at the palace gate, her world was shattered. We see her in her royal quarters, her face transforming from confusion to horror, and then, finally, to this steely resolve. She sat with his words. She understood. This was not about her comfort or even her survival. No, this was about why she was here at all. Mordecai's question burned into her soul. Who knows whether you have not come to the kingdom for such a time as this? Her decision was made. Her reply, a statement of total surrender and courage. If I perish, I perish. To go before the king uninvited, that was a death sentence. But on the third day, Esther put on her royal robes and stepped into the inner court. Imagine the deafening silence, every courtier frozen, every eye turned towards her as she walked, a solitary figure against the breathtaking scale of the throne room. Her heart must have been pounding. The king looked up, and he extended the golden scepter. "What is your request, Queen Esther?" he asked. "Even up to half the kingdom it shall be given to you." But Esther's request was simple and very strategic. She invited the king and Haman to a private banquet, and then to a second one. Here, in the intimate, candlelit tension of that final meal, the entire story just comes to a head. And finally, the moment she had prepared for, the king asks again, "What is your request?" Dramatic, with measured bravery, she reveals her identity and her plea, pointing directly at her enemy. The adversary and enemy is this wicked Haman. In an instant, the atmosphere shatters. Haman is pale with terror. The king rises in fury. Told that Haman had built a gallows for Mordecai, the king's judgment was swift. "Will he even assault the queen in my own house? Hang him on it." And so Haman was executed on the very structure he had prepared for an innocent man. Relieved, the genocidal decree, however, couldn't be revoked, but the king gave Esther and Mordecai the power to write a new one, allowing the Jewish people to defend themselves. What was meant to be a day of destruction became a day of deliverance. We see the celebrations in the streets of Susa, the feasting and exchanging of gifts. We see Mordecai, once in sackcloth, now dressed in royal robes, honored in the palace. The sorrow was turned to joy. Reflective, the question the book still asks us today is the same question Mordecai asked her. Who knows whether you have not come to this place for such a time as this? Now here's a question for you to reflect on. In your own life, in your own sphere of influence, what might be your "for such a time as this" moment?